Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, really exciting to see the community of AI LLMs growing. I built a company called Wild AI 9 years ago. So it was way before AI was cool or well known. And now obviously it's on everyone is talking about AI and everyone's excited, but still really amazing to see the people who are at the forefront, which I think is the room here. So I'm joining today to talk about my experience building a company in AI 9 years ago, selling it to a publicly listed company on the New York Stock Exchange, and now using it day to day. And what am I doing today? Using AI for myself, but also training people and also advising governments on how to use AI. And especially in Europe, I think we have a unique opportunity today to really position ourselves to create a good AI that is good yet competitive. Like we have a lot of issues, a lot of questions around AI sovereignty. We've seen with Fable being forbidden. If we were building all of our healthcare systems and transport systems based on Fable and suddenly it's forbidden, like basically the countries couldn't work anymore. So how can we look at that and how can we tackle that? So that is me pregnant, 9 months, 8.5 months surfing here in Portugal. And the reason I share that is that with the world of AI, everyone is talking about the end of humanity and all the fears, but the reality is we are still human. And what makes it very exciting today is what can we do good about AI, while also like we know there are some risks, but what makes us really human is this human connection, being here together in this room today. And I love this picture because this is really what made me feel really human. Like being pregnant, giving birth is this incredible human experience, female experience. And it gives me a lot of hope for the future of humanity. Obviously, AI, what is it? Is data in, data out. And so if you put data in that is crap or is AI generated, so a lot of questions today are if you are putting only AI generated content in the new AIs, then it's all going to be AI slop out. And this is a big question that I had when I built my company, Wild AI. So I am Helene Guillaume. I built the company, which is a women's health company 9 years ago, sold it, and now I am advising governments. I'm on the board on a few advisory for governments, and I'm writing a book on AI sovereignty in Europe. Why is Europe the only superpower that can save AI from itself? Which is my new thing, and I'm very excited about it. And I'm also a keynote speaker, and I advise and coach as well. So my company, we were taking data from wearables and manual inputs, aggregate these two together, and transform that into women-read data sets. So if you are a woman, and if you were using an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch, if your body temperature goes up, as a man, it means you're sick. As a woman, it means that you are ovulating, pregnant, in perimenopause, or sick. So their reading of the data sets was not made for women. And there was a woman a few days ago on LinkedIn. She was writing, I was pregnant. I got pregnant. I was really excited. So on my Apple Watch, I wrote, I'm pregnant. And then I had a miscarriage. So I had bleeding after losing the baby, but there is no miscarriage option. So it was like, oh, it's postpartum bleeding, or it's a period, and it was like, no, it's not. And these are not edge cases. A lot of women, like 1 in 3 pregnancies will end up in a miscarriage. So these are like, it's still in tech today. All of what is related to women is called edge cases. So what we built was this understanding of what is a woman, how does the female body function, and how can we turn that into an algorithm. So we did all the research. At the time, we had to read everything with our little eyes and transform that into an algorithm that would create personalized and adaptive recommendation to women on a day-to-day basis. And we got acquired by this big wearable company, which is the 5th largest wearable company last October. So yeah, a little bit a crash course here because you all are very interested in women's health. So women go through these big life stages. We go through puberty where we have first periods. We can take a contraceptive. They're all different. We are trying to get pregnant, freeze our eggs, a lot of shot of hormones, postpartum, PCOS, endometriosis, perimenopause, menopause. We have these huge life stages. And to understand why it's really important for women, if you close your eyes and you imagine a room full of testosterone, we have a pretty good representation today, so well done. But if you only think of a room full of developers, or I started my career as a quant in a hedge fund, so like very heavy testosterone. But if I ask you the same thing and I tell you, okay, now close your eyes and think of a room full of estrogen or progesterone, you probably have no idea what I mean. So it's like, what does it mean? It's because we don't understand the female hormones, although we actually take artificial hormones through contraception, or we have huge shifts. So understanding the female body is really important, because otherwise we live with permanent states of not feeling well. So this is why what we did was extremely important, and a crash course on contraception, because this actually is interesting for you as well, men. Contraception, how does it work? There's three main families of contraceptives: combined, progesterone and estrogen, progesterone only, and non-hormonal. And there is a fourth one, which is the male contraception, or the SNP, and which I highly encourage, because we go through a lot as women. And again, all these hormones, like imagine taking artificial hormones in your body. And so imagine you go to the gym and you take artificial testosterone and you have no idea what it is going to make to your body. This is what happens to us as women. So again, when you think of my first entry slide, which was data in, data out, today, 80% of the medical research is still done on males. So we have no idea of all of that. So when we are asking ChatGPT a health question, which is now 40% of the questions on ChatGPT are health related, it does not apply to women. So it's really interesting to understand that, because it means it's a big risk, and it's also a big opportunity, because if you are targeting that, or if you're Europe, you can start thinking like, oh, we are not okay with having our women underserved. We are not okay with having our products able to be taken out from us, from our hands. And then this is what happens through perimenopause and menopause. So a lot of shifts of, again, all the hormones and how we metabolize the body through our life. So longevity, living long and living well. So that was the whole point of our company as well. We were at the between biohacking, longevity, AI. Was a very complicated and tough business, but we made a dent in that. So where are we today in AI? So there is this big excitement. It's going to change entirely the way we work. It's going to remove all the workforces, and is also going to have all these doom stories of it's the end of the world. We're going to have robots. We've probably seen the videos of the robots who are doing show dances and they kick kids. This is quite scary, but this is already where we are today. And when the dancing is cute, but when you're thinking that it is a robot in your house who is serving you, and then you have no control of it, it's really like we are in the post-apocalyptic visions of robots who can really take over. And like, I'm really thinking, if there is a robot here and it's coming towards me, I literally do not know how I can stop it, because it's much stronger than me. So how do we create embedded in these systems very good AI? And today, it is not the case. If you look at Grok, people, men in general, generate pedophile pictures on Grok. So how is it that possible? It's because there are no safeguards around that. And Elon Musk would say it's for free speech and it's really important. But at the same time, me coming from women's health, I can tell you, everything is not allowed. So when you talk about vaginal discharges, this is not allowed, but pedophile pictures is allowed. So here in Europe, how can we really think that all the time when we are embedded in this conversation and we say it's extremely important that the very basics, we put that into our use cases and understanding that we don't want to have a bad AI. And actually the other use case I wanted to say, which I briefly mentioned, when we see a cloud fable that is forbidden, imagine, you're super excited. I don't know if any of you have tried it, had the time to try it. It was amazing. It was like, oh my God, it's insane. It was a rough few days for sleep. It was super exciting. But imagine you're like, okay, strategy, we are changing everything, healthcare, we run it on this new model. It's amazing. Or infrastructure, like the roads, we won't have any traffic jams anymore. You want to go south, you want to go to Cascais, no traffic jam is awesome. And then the day after, the US turns it off, turns off the tap, the hospitals are off, all the roads are off. This is really what is happening today. This is a real use case. So we are all using these models, which are not European. We do not own them. And we are at that risk. So data is power. So how can we think of that in a better way? Good AI, though, is awesome. It enables us of not doing repetitive stuff. When I was a quant in a hedge fund, I had to open a tab, look at some prices of foreign exchange, copy paste it into another tab. And so I automated all of that with, any of you was using a VBA, send keys. It was a great way to like basically replicate your mouse. So you don't have to do all these repetitive tasks, which are really boring. So there is really an amazing use case of AI, but we have, again, to keep in mind that we have to do it well. So what is happening today in the world, in the US, super capitalistic, and they're going extremely fast. It's amazing. And probably most of us are using American models. And then we have China, who is, interestingly, 10 years ago, Europeans were a little bit afraid of Asia. And now it's actually quite reversing. Like people in Europe tend to start to look at Asia as a nicer partner than the US, which is more aggressive and a little bit more scary, because when the Americans say that they're going to take Greenland, it's a bit scary for us Europeans. So what is happening? So if we look at the Industrial Revolution, we had all the farmers who were doing a very repetitive job every day, putting their tomatoes in the soil. And then we revolutionized that. So everyone, they were like big tractors, and this is what we ended up having. It's not very nice, it's not very pretty, and we really fucked up our lands. But everyone has tomatoes or raw salmon or anything you really want to have. And then 20 years ago, we had the cloud revolution. And it's an amazing marketing tool. They said, we're going to put all your data in the cloud. You remember we had the tapes on your device, and they said, no, don't worry, we put everything on the cloud, it disappears. And we're like, oh, amazing, take my data, I'll put everything on the cloud. So we voluntarily gave all our data sets. And we're like, this is awesome. But it was never there was never a cloud. It was big physical infrastructure. And 52% of this big physical infrastructure is in the US right now. So when we are putting our little data as a woman, I have my periods, I don't have my periods, I had an abortion, all of that is in the US. So what does it mean? Is that the US knows exactly what is happening to my life. And you think, okay, this is for you, you're having a period, okay. But this goes beyond that. So if you are, again, now we're thinking of a world where everyone is not friends, it becomes quite scary, because not only we use their models, but they also have our data. So when we think our data is security, it's like, who is positioned where? Who is doing what? What are their habits? The US knows everything that we are doing. So what are we doing as Europeans? We're doing nothing right now. So AI sovereignty matters, because it's like, we're not enemies, but we also have to be very aware that we cannot rely on someone who can take things away from us, and we have no power whatsoever to have our say. Again, the Fable example is so real and so good as a use case now, because we actually understand it. So AI sovereignty, it means having the physical infrastructure, so big data warehouses where we host the data, our models. So we use Mistral AI, European models, trained on our data sets. And then we also embed our thinking, so our things that are important for us Europeans. So for instance, we are quite socialists in Europe. Not completely socialist, but we have free healthcare, we have free education. And these are values for Europeans that are quite important. In the US, it's different. But so how can we put that as a good healthcare? So if I'm a European, if I'm a woman, I go to an AI model and actually serves me instead of not serving me, which is currently the case. So how can we have that really in our minds when we think about developing these models? And we had the big transition. So what was currency? Currency was wheat, and then it was oil, and it was data, infrastructure. Today is the big currency. I have a lot of data. I'm the most powerful. Anthropic can train its data, like stole all the data from online curling, and now it has all the data sets. So this is really the power, and it can have the best model thanks to that. And the question is, what is coming next? And so how can we think of positioning ourselves to make sure we prepare ourselves for the next big wave, which is going to make a real difference for us and to live really well. So as humans, how can we use that? Because these are really exciting tools. So I'm thinking every day I'm working with governments and I'm working with leaders and companies, and they say, okay, AI is exciting. How do we put it in place? How do we get first use cases? And the question is, okay, what do we actually do? And so IKEA was an amazing example. I wrote a post on LinkedIn a few days ago, and it was very interesting, the reaction, because IKEA retrained 8,500 people of their customer service. So they replaced customer service by AI, but instead of firing 8,500 people, they retrained them and they upskilled them in AI. So we have citizens. We need citizens who have money, and we either fund it somehow, or we retrain them using this, and people don't have to do copy pasting anymore. We don't have to do that. Or if you think of use cases like an assistant who is looking at a calendar, looking at another calendar and sending 7 emails, this is like the worst use of the time of anyone. So how can we think of using these tools that are amazing, but also thinking, okay, we want to generate things. And I was having a coffee from the little coffee shop nearby, and it's like pink and it has yellow and has this like nice touch of colors. And as humans, we are inclined to have preferences. So if you are a big fan of LLMs, maybe you love the green and or you go and maybe you like some sort of designs like quite minimalistic, or you like quite peachy. So there is really a world where services and having a more human to human approach that is empowered by AI is there. And so this is why community really comes in. So why is that important today to have a community? Because human to human is important, because on our phones, we're just killing our social behaviors in your house. If you have a partner and kids, most probably you still spend 5 hours, 7 hours on your phone, and you have barely any communication with the people living in your house. So how can we change that and really rethink the way we live? So I love this picture. It's Serena Williams. She's one of the best athletes in the world. She knows all the theory, but she still has a human coach. So why is that? It's because as humans, we have this thing which is very special, which is energy transfer. And this is why we are in these rooms here. And I love when people are nodding and reacting to me and not on their laptops. And because this is really what makes humans special. And when you are at the highest level in your field, like Serena Williams, she still wants a human connection, because this person who is going to give her this energy and the power and make her feel like a superpower, this is really what makes us humans. So is there a future of work with AI? 100%. I'm convinced yes. What do you see? People love people. So yeah, we love these connections with humans. And we need to make sure we continue doing that, because it is so easy to get lost into using our devices all the time. And we're all probably victims of that, or victims of doom scrolling forever. And so like these big changes, which in the UK, now they have forbidden social media for under 16. But us as adults, we cannot control ourselves either. It's like having cocaine on tap. It's like, here you go, we have no idea what it is, go for it. And this is social media. Or like, even like, I catch myself sometimes, I'm on my emails and I check my spam box. Like, how many people do that? Yeah, it's so like, why are we doing that? Take your phone, call your mom instead, but we still do that. Like, it's really bad. So like, we have to catch ourselves, like stopping to use this drug that is on tap, and we are so dependent on it. And so now we really have a 3-year window, which is really critical. And in Europe, like now, we have such an amazing life in Europe. And so my company used to be super, super technical. Like I was extremely quantified. I'm an athlete. So I was like thinking like, how can I optimize the next like little bits? And now I live in Portugal. I surf. I was pregnant for 4 years. So I have 0 wearables. My coffee, actually not, now I have a latte, but usually my coffee is that size. When you go in the US and your coffee is that size, you have to do a lot of like very aggressive exercise. You have to be in a gym, etc. In Europe, we live quite well. Like we have small size portions of food. We eat well. Our coffee is like this with nothing else. So it's like we live quite well. So how can we make Europe the best place in the world to live for citizens and for companies? And we need to be competitive, and we need to create an economy where we want to live. And we really have an opportunity. When we look at the influx of US citizens in Portugal right now, is because it is an amazing country to live. So for all the Portuguese here, thank you. And I'm not American, but so how can we really think very strategically and move really fast to make sure that we win that? So now shifting gears, like what I do on a day-to-day basis as well, I train leaders on how to think on starting with AI. The very first step is you basically literally just have to start yourself. So there's always this security question, like, is it safe? Is it secure to use AI? No, it's not. So you have to use it in a very safe way, thinking it will always have the opportunity to be leaked, like for sure. But there are some ways to do that. So like you have the toggle, don't share my data sets to participate in training the models and things like that. I think this room is pretty advanced when it comes to what is AI. I won't go in depth in that, but there are some like fun new models that are worth trying. Like HoloTab is quite fun on the Chrome extension. I use a lot Claude on my Chrome extension, but I'm really trying also to start thinking of how can I use more European models to share my data. And then like from a very practical example use cases, things that it can do, things I use it myself now after having, well, AI, we build the actual models. We're doing deep reinforcement learning on the models. And so now, like from a more like practical standpoint, what can I actually do today very easily to get started? So I use Granola to transcript all my calls, excluding my coaching calls, which are confidential, or to draft replies, support emails, prepare. So all my meetings are prepped already. So I have an entry in my calendar that is with all the people from the call and is all prepped and with all my history of calls. I love to use the Chrome extensions, like to auto DM on LinkedIn. If you receive a message from me, it might be me, my assistant, or an automation. I don't know if if you've played a lot with creating your own websites and developing lead magnets. I've developed as well, because of my company, my previous company. I had to become a speaker because no one understood what we're doing. Imagine, it was called World AI 9 years ago, so no one knew what AI was, and then it was all about Web3, and no one thought that it was interesting at all. And then eventually AI saw light, and we had wild.ai as a domain. So we were well positioned. But now I'm doing like this different, and so lead magnets in social media, like I built my profile as well a lot on LinkedIn because I had to advocate for what we were doing. And lead magnets is a big thing, and it was like quite hard to do it. And now with AI, it's so fast. So really fun to see as well, to play with these different models, to create tools to increase profiles as well. And yeah, the other ones, a few other ones that I love, AWS Cost Cutter. We always overspend AWS. So analyze my spendings, where can I optimize, where can I cut, when can I shut. So that was a nice use of it. Competitor analysis agents is really good now at looking around to see competitors. Like for instance, I'm talking on an M&A deal, a company that wants to acquire a portfolio of other companies. So who are these other companies that are doing between 1 and 3 million of revenues, where they're located, how much have they raised, and when. So to understand a little bit, if they are running out of cash, if they haven't done a fundraise recently, probably they would be open to have a no cash full equity offer. So really interesting also to start doing more advanced research and analytics from an M&A perspective as well. Personal brand assistant. I have 80,000 followers on LinkedIn. I do not write everything that is there. And yeah, so use cases, like how to understand amazing use cases in AI. So number one is very repetitive. I do it quite regularly. It's time consuming or expensive. Like you currently use or work with someone to do that. Can give a result by pulling data from multiple resources. So the example I was giving on M&A deals, understanding what is my landscape online, looking at all the fundraising history of the companies. I'm okay to give access to the data sets. So like right now I'm talking to Bordy. I don't know if you've tried Bordy. It's a voice chat. It's quite fun to fundraise, and it gives you introductions directly. And the voice is like from South Africa. So it's quite fun to chat with it, but it wants full access to all my calendar. So am I okay to give access to all my calendar and all my, obviously, information and emails from it? And then it adds value as a human. So yeah, these are all the use cases, some use cases to like just start playing around if you're looking at doing things as well. And that's it. And then I'm writing that book, the AI Sovereign Standard. So how to understand why AI sovereignty is really important for us generally, because it's really important to be able to decide for our own citizens, for ourselves. I come from a world where women's data sets is not known. So we didn't have the power. When I go to a hospital, I didn't have the power to understand my own body. So I don't think this is the right way to approach the future. And now that data is everything, is especially even more. And yeah, that's it.